From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
All right, so there's a number of trending topics this week, especially over the weekend. And one that we didn't toss into the news, but Lily and I were talking about it. There was a de-indexing snafu over at Google, and boy, did the SEOs bounce all over the place. Complaining to Webmasters Tools. I mean, come on. And it wasn't even the same problem as the last de-indexing back in April, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was the same problem, but it kind of feels like there's been a different problem every week. So it's a little bit hard to keep track. But last week's issue, I believe it was maybe Wednesday or Thursday, that we woke up and no new content was being indexed. So that was exciting.
At all. And I think they ironed it out within like 3 or 4 days, about 72 hours, and Webmasters Tools gave us the green light. But that didn't stop SEOs from around the planet chiming into that thread. And the memes, you got to go, I mean, if you're SEO, you just got to go check it out just for the meme watching itself, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of good memes that day. I particularly enjoyed my big publisher client. I told them that was happening, and they were like, so do you have an ETA from Google on when it might, when they might start indexing things again? Because we kind of like to know. I was like, yeah, let me just give them a call.
Yeah, exactly. We got John Mueller on the phone right here. Let's just get an idea when all that's going to be worked out. It's like whack-a-mole. It really is. And I mean, these things are really important. I mean, Google understands that these are huge revenue factors for clients, and if you're not being able to get that new content out, and the general listener may not realize the importance of the delivery and the indexing of that content, but it's critical, and especially whenever you have that kind of outage over a while. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this client in particular publishes 40 pieces of content every day.
Holy.
So they feel it pretty hard when something like that happens. And, it's hard as the SEO agency to kind of explain, like, sorry that your organic traffic is going to be cut off for a day.
Right.
That can have a devastating impact for them for sure. So.
No, absolutely. Man, that's a chunk of content right there. But they snapped it back in the ship. We just have to keep a vigil now on things. And we've got Barry Schwartz out there who truly is keeping a vigil all the time. We've got eyes on the prize, so to speak. Speaking of Barry Schwartz, an article over at Search Engine Roundtable, he references the Google Disavow tool, and we haven't heard that it's actually making its way into the new Google Search Console, but I mean, to what he was referencing, there's been some rumors floating around that it's not actually going to migrate over to the new system, but actually stay inside the old Google Search Console. But John Mueller from Google hinted that is not the case, and for now, people can still use the Google Disavow tool in the old version of Google Search Console. And then the tweet out there, did you know that you can't disavow a new GSC? That was from Kristen Stack, verified a domain property a couple months ago. And anyway, she couldn't actually disavow, and that's the important thing. The old Google Search Console didn't have the domain property. It was simply the URL property, and that's what I think we're tripping across right here, right?
Yeah, actually a little backstory on that. So Kristen wrote me the night before and was like, hey, am I crazy, or can I not disavow? Like, does the disavow tool not work? And so I checked my disavow tool, and I had dozens of sites in there. I was like, it's working fine for me. So we kind of troubleshooted it together, and she found like one page on Google's, I think it's like their Webmaster Hangout, where they kind of talk about technical issues, and they said, oh yeah, if you verify using the domain properties, you're not going to have access to some of the old features.
Yep.
So it's not just disavow, it's everything that's back on the old Google Search Console, which I don't know about you, but I'm in there all the time using a lot of the old features.
Bouncing back and forth. But I'm liking the new GSC more and more.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it for sure. There's definitely some features in the old GSC that I still cling to, and I hope they don't get rid of. But whenever people speculate about these tools being taken away on the new Search Console or anything like that, John Mueller's pretty quick to jump in and say that's not happening. We just haven't built it yet. So everyone needs to calm down. I don't think that they're taking these tools away from us just yet.
I got a sidebar question regarding Disavow. Is that, well over into a year ago, Google was telling us that they were actively disavowing, and that the need or the discipline of such a continual disavow back to them was unnecessary because they're doing it real time. Are you still of the opinion that a disavow is a good method of communication to Google and a consistent type of this conversation of, hey, we don't want to be known by these sites. What's your opinion there?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that you should still use it. But they've been pretty specific about what you should use it for. So there's a lot of spam on the internet just by default. We all know that. And Google knows that. They're the biggest web spam fighter in history, obviously. But what they're really looking for is for websites to take ownership of when they've done something wrong that's against the search quality guidelines or against Google's webmaster guidelines as it relates to links, and kind of take ownership of that. And the tool that we have to do that is the Disavow tool. So in many cases, you'll talk to webmasters and say like, hey, I'm seeing some bad links in your profile. Did you do any backlink building? And they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never, we've never done anything like that. But in many cases, for whatever reason, there has been some shady backlink building in their past. Maybe it was before their time. Maybe they hired an SEO that was doing that kind of thing and they didn't realize what was actually happening. So I still use Disavow for that reason. Like, it's better to just show Google, hey, we're taking ownership of this. We're owning up to the fact that there's some shady backlinks in here. And we want you to know that we're communicating with you and we're letting you know that this is not something that we're actively trying to do.
Right. How often, if you wouldn't mind me asking, how often do you actually do an actual manual disavow to Google?
Well, more now than in the past, I would say, a couple of years, just because that's definitely something that's been a big focus after these algorithm updates, is like, how do backlinks tie into the equation? And more we're seeing that problematic backlinks do seem to be playing a role in some of the recent algorithm updates. So again, disavowing is like, there's really no harm that you can do unless you're obviously disavowing things that are adding value to the site. So if you're careful about what you throw in there, I think it's a good thing that can only help right now.
Now, we're of the opinion over here at Site Strategics that getting into almost a weekly discipline, especially with the tools that we have now with Ahrefs and SEM, that gives us that, hey, this just popped up. Cleaning the hull of a boat, getting the barnacles off as quickly as you can, and letting Google know. I think it's a good conversation to have, don't you?
I do too. And I mean, the risk that people are worried about with disavowing is that they're accidentally going to put something in there that's, bringing good performance to their site for whatever reason. But I think that's not a very big risk to take.
No, very good, very good. Well, we appreciate you commenting on that. Another news story from Barry Schwartz over at Search Engine Land. And we knew it was coming here, but they wanted to announce it. Starting July 1st, all new sites will be indexed using Google's mobile-first indexing. Google is to default to, say that 5 times fast. To default to mobile-first indexing with new sites. Be sure to build websites that work well on mobile. And if you don't know that principle by now, shame on you. Everything should be mobile first. You should be designed mobile first, desktop second. And in our opinion here, Google announced that all websites previously known to Google Search will be indexed using mobile first indexing starting July 1st. Older websites that are still not being indexed using mobile first indexing will not be switched yet to mobile first indexing on July, but will be moved when the websites are ready to be moved to mobile first indexing. That's a bit of an internal discussion that they're having, but all new sites are going to be reviewed and indexed first with mobile first. So we knew about it, and this is kind of best standards and principles, but I guess it's good to be able to have a declaration like that from Google, right?
Yeah, it just shows that a lot of kind of speculation and something that's had a lot of buildup for the past couple of years is finally coming to a culmination point where it's like, all right, it's time to actually get on board with this. I think most webmasters are hiring web developers that know to build responsive websites, and most people are already on board, but there's still some work to do with making sure that the mobile version of websites is equivalent to what people see on desktop, and making sure search engines can access content on the mobile version as easily and things of that nature. So, people are still kind of getting fully compliant with mobile first indexing, but I don't think this is big news to anyone at this point.
Yeah, it's just almost like the official proclamation, as opposed to stuff we've been knowing for a while. So, okay, the last story was obviously intentional. We wanted to dive into some EAT information, and from the SEM Post over with Jennifer Slegg, always appreciative of the content that she throws out there. Last week, she updated her blog with Google Updates, quality rater guidelines, targeting EAT page quality, and interstitials. So Lily and I were talking about this offline. There's a heck of a lot of changes to the quality graders guideline. In the last 2 weeks, they updated it. And just following along this article, there's a number of updates. But Lily, before we get into some of the specifics of this article, what's your takeaway on those updates here? Just briefly, we don't let the cat out of the bag as we go into our interview, but some quick flybys.
Yeah, my first reaction to it, because I saw that they changed the word EAT to page quality like dozens of times throughout the document. Mm-hmm. My first reaction to that was just Google does stuff like that when they see that the SEO community is overreacting to things. So I almost wondered if Google was like, people need to not make EAT this enormous ranking factor that everybody's obsessed with and everybody's freaking out about, and completely changing the way they do things, because what happens with those types of developments in the SEO industry is that they start to get spammed. So people might develop EAT spam, which would just cause like a lot of headaches as far as people's concerned. So I thought they were almost dialing back how much they talked about it. But everything else that was updated in the document, it's all kind of the same as it was last year. They're still focused on high quality content. They're still very focused on EAT. They cracked down on interstitials a little bit. So I think there's still a lot of sites that are trying to get away with like immediately driving people to an ad or to an interstitial. And that's something that Google really is not a fan of anymore. So Absolutely. And we'll certainly have all the links from our news articles in the show notes. But Jennifer does put in a number of quotes, and again, following in the same vein, some of those examples. So they're certainly promoting page quality, have been for the longest time. But, I mean, just that chill out factor, right? Everybody just calm down. Now, again, we're dedicating this show to EAT, so there's that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there's going to be, the SEO community is so reactionary. Right. And it's in this space where we do need a little bit of governance, a little bit of, okay, everybody calm down. This is not as big as what you're about to make it. If you put an acronym together, they'll just go to the hilt. So maybe it's just a little bit of a parent guideline. All right, everybody, kids, sit back in the seats in the back of the car, or I'll turn this car around, so to speak. Right. Anyway, it was a really good article, and we wanted to tee up our conversation here regarding EAT today. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more of our content, or especially more of this week's featured guest, including a full-length interview, head on over to YouTube and search for Edge of the Web. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see digital marketing news as it happens.